And welcome to Mark's Motivational Podcast, Motivational Thursday, a special episode. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Richard Hill, the author of Mirroring Hands himself and Ernest Rossi. And how I came across Richard's work was through Mike Mandel hypnosis. He did this great guest training there a number of years ago. So it was a really good. So make sure you check that out as well. So I'm really excited to talk with Richard today all about the concept and the background. So Richard, thanks a lot for joining me today. It's a pleasure.
It's an absolute pleasure, Mark. I'm so glad you asked me.
Yeah,
I'm a simple person. If you ask me, I usually say yes. And it's amazing how
thank you.
people say, "Oh, I didn't want to ask you." I said, "For
Yeah,
God's sake, just ask me." So I'm so
yeah.
glad you did.
No, thank you so much. Thank you. So we'll probably start off the podcast. If you wouldn't mind telling the listeners a little bit of background of how this all began with the book and your line of work and with helping people would be a great place to start.
Yeah, it's a wonderful happenstance story. And I actually started my career, my first career, my previous incarnation. I almost feel like it was as an actor and a singer and performer. So you were saying you do a bit of music, and yeah, played piano, write songs, got some awards, done a few things, and I woke up around early 40s, and I had some close, nearly, some pilots that but didn't. And I woke up at 40 and I thought, oh, damn, I'm not famous. Oh, that's a nuisance. I don't want to, I don't want to now just be the, third baddie from the left. So I thought, well, I'll go back and learn some stuff because I've been beautifully experiential for 25 years. And, I made a buck out of it too, which was pretty good. And so I went back to university. I started studying linguistics because I thought I'd talk a lot. And and that was fascinating. And then I thought, oh, well, language and the brain, where does the brain come from? And so I sort of did biology and then anthropology and then paleoanthropology, then philosophy and all these things you can do in your undergraduate degree. Then I came out of there. I thought, well, maybe I should help people. That would be nice. I felt good about doing that. So I did some work on counseling, and then I bumped into went to a conference with these guys named Dan Siegel and Lou Cozzolino. And Dan Siegel's become quite famous with interpersonal neurobiology. Lou would be more famous if he wanted to be. Uh, and I thought, oh, this is good. And they said, oh, we're going to be at this Milton Erickson Foundation Evolution Conference. And I looked at it. Yeah, everybody. There was like Aaron Beck and Albert Ellis and Virginia Satir. I mean, just all these amazing people.
Oh,
So I thought, oh, I'll go there and tell them all my ideas and show them how clever I am. It's always lovely to look back and remember how much of a dickhead you were when you were younger. And anyway, so I went to this conference and I had all these big names to go and see. And the
yeah,
first one, I saw this guy was talking about genetics and he was talking about neuroscience and he was talking about something. This guy named Ernest Rossi, never heard of him. And so I went along. My God, I'm sitting there. He's talking in my words and my language, and he's explaining to me stuff that I didn't. And then halfway through, it's 3 hours. There's nothing like a good solid three-hour workshop to start your
yeah.
career and stuff. And he said, and I wonder if you might just put your hands in front of you and just look at them. Well, that was it. My life changed.
Wow.
In that moment, my hands began to do things and I began to be engaged and involved. I then looked, of course, my main focus was in Ericksonian hypnosis.
Hmm.
Uh, but every time I heard a hypnotist speak, talking, I went, shut up, shush, just let them wait for it, let it go. And we're doing so, and there's some great stuff that's still going on about this. And you say Mike Mandel, I know Timothy September's doing this Into the Loop, which has got a lot of mirroring hands in it, but he's sort of young and bringing in stuff. And uh, so I guess I'm the purist. Now I went on to other different studies, various things, and Ernie constantly challenging me. Now, sadly, he passed in 2020. So we've lost him, but he uh, there are a few things, but he basically said that's why we wrote the book together. I knew that was why we were writing the book, and he said take this on? He said, I've done a lot of technical stuff, but I want you to keep doing the humanity. I want you to make this, please make this, continue making this a human experience. And so that's what I do is to try and take the human experience I had, the humanistic experience I had as an actor, then add all the knowledgeable stuff. I've now got 3 degrees and I've 3 master's degrees, and I'm just about to finish a PhD. But I don't do them out of braininess. I do them out of curiosity and interest, and then blend them all together. And maybe in this sort of wise old owl years of 70 plus, I can impart something and be valuable and contribute that way. So there's the elevator speech of how we go from a, a turkey actor into something that I'm actually kind of proud to be me. I like it. I
Brilliant.
like being me.
Yeah. Yeah, great. No, that's a great story. That's great explanation of how it came about. Can I just get a little background about the book as well? How did that come about? How did that start off with yourself and Ernie? How did that work out?
Yeah, I mean, we worked together for 15 years.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and developing this deeply personal engagement. My favorite photo was Ernie and I, him with a dark beer and me with a light beer, and we're sitting in the pub, and
yeah,
uh, literally we were talking about the meaning of life from a quantum perspective in relation to a book.
yeah,
Always
yeah,
a light conversation with Ernie Rossi, but
mm,
it was a real apprenticeship. Uh,
yeah,
I would only write to Ernie if I had a brilliant idea. I wouldn't just write
mm,
some trash of like what do you think of this? I would say, excuse me, Ernie, if you have some time, I wonder if you would. And this went on for a few years because I'd always write to him and he'd say, oh, very good, Richard. That's a lovely idea. And here's the 20 times I've already said it, papers back to 1980 and books and things. So I really began to learn that there's a reservoir of fabulous knowledge. And I love some of the people nowadays who are coming up with these great ideas and they're going, oh, I figured this out. And I go, do you realize that that comes from a reservoir? And some of it, like one of my books, I take it all the way back to Plato. I go, come
yeah,
on, guys, we are not that genius, but we are part of the genius in ourselves. We're not. So anyway, we did all that. We tried that. Eventually, he about 5 years in, he wrote back and he said, I haven't thought of that before. Very interesting, Richard. We then began our shift, and so we worked together a lot. We talked. I went every year to the Ericsson Foundation conferences, and then in 2016, he said, "Richard, I wonder if you would like to write a definitive book on mirroring hands with me." That's a bit like someone saying, "Would you like to have a bowl of ice cream, lots of money, the riches of the world, and 100 virgins?" So I said, "Yes, I would, Ernie. That would be excellent." Anyway,
mm,
we ended up spending a week together. I mean, we spent all these years, but we spent a week together discussing the book, doing therapy on each other. I have this wonderful picture of him and I doing an electrical experiment with a receiver in each hand, holding hands in the middle to catch it. And Catherine, his wife, said, "I came down after about an hour, and there were the two of you asleep in the study, holding hands." And I just think, seriously, I mean, for those who know of Ernest Rossi, he was an icon. He was
mm,
thing, and
yeah,
I held hands with him in a study, and but I knew what he was saying because he was then in his 80s, and I knew he wasn't well, and
yeah,
I thought, oh, so there was an enormous amount of gravitas to the
mm,
occasion, and it was extraordinary at the end when we were doing a little video. We just Ernie's sitting there with the Ericsson conference. We're going to release the book in 2018, and Ernie said, "This is the best expression of my work by anyone, including me." Wow. In fact, it was very funny because I was doing this video. I didn't hear him say that. And he said, the best book, including me. I said, that's great, Ernie. And now, but then when I look back on it, I thought, okay, Ernie's happy. He feels comfortable with where it's going. Then we released the book, and then gradually, and not that I'm not a good marketer, but I don't like to market this stuff. I
Mm.
don't like to say, this is the thing that will fix everything, and I've
Yeah,
got the
yeah,
best thing you've ever had,
mm,
because nothing's the best thing.
yeah, yeah.
The thing that is the best thing is the thing that works for you. As Erickson said, the therapy you do that you've never done quite like that before, and you never do it quite like that again, probably indicates you are most attuned with the client and most listening to them.
Mm,
And this is the nature of mirroring hands. It is a process that doesn't ask the therapist to keep shepherding the client into the frame.
mm,
And this is what the PhD research is what this client responsiveness in. It's about finding how to meet each other, for finding how to recognize where the client is at and allow them to proceed through not certainly to their capabilities, but also to find out what they're capable of but don't know yet. Also, those skills they have but haven't developed yet. But it's mirroring hands is actually really simple, and we do it in lots of therapies, but not
mm,
as thoughtfully or as sensitively. But we simply take this emergent experience, all the stuff's going on here, and up comes this thing, uh, and we just take the irky bit off to the side,
mm,
and then say, okay, what is not the irky bit? Now, this could be pain, this could be a habit, this could be something you don't even know. I just have something I don't know, which is actually a process I did with Susie, my wife. She said there is something in between us in our relationship. With second marriage, both of us. We did a process, and at the end of it, she said it was kind of a bit disappointing because I didn't think anything about it. But she said I woke up the next morning and whatever it was gone, and it's never come back. So sometimes the process itself allows the natural self-healing that we've
mm.
been doing for thousands of years.
Yeah,
Don't think
yeah,
mental health is new. We've had mental
mm,
health issues and mental health resolution for, you know,
mm,
centuries, and they're all in us. All those therapies that everybody's invented are just elements of us. Uh, so sometimes it does it all on its own mysteriously. Sometimes it does it all on its own quite obviously. Oh my God,
yeah,
I remember this experience, and now all I need to do is this. Sometimes it just opens the door. I had a client and she said, "Oh, I'm seeing an image that I was thinking the other or receiving in a dream." So we put the hands away and we just worked with the images. Sometimes the hands will say, "Oh, but I have these terrible thoughts." So we might do a CBT type of thing.
hmm, yeah,
But I must admit, I don't give suggestions and I don't look to uh, impose or infect it. What I do is I look to what the client, and they give themselves their own suggestions. I'll then amplify them. Uh, but metaphors, I look, usually the client is already giving me a metaphor or they're triggering a story of my own life. So it's
mm,
interesting. And it's kind of a bit difficult to understand if I've given just sort of a little bit of insight into it without confusing the issue too much.
yeah. No, that's great. And again, that was a great compliment by Ernie about the book, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was nice.
Incredible. Yeah, because I was just thinking when you were saying that about you mentioned a lot on the book about you create the rhythm we have for healing the oh god the name
Well,
escapes me.
there's two. There's the four-stage creative cycle, and there's the ultradian rhythm.
Ultradian rhythm. That's the
Uh,
one. Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Easy for me to say. Ultradian rhythm. There you go. But no, yeah, because that's a great concept on the book that you that's in a lot of the chapters. Um, would you mind maybe just to give people a sense of what kind of things that I know it can be used in a variety of situations, but maybe one or two examples that you've used before that's really helped people, if that's okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
because fundamentally people say, what does it work for? And I say, it doesn't work for anything. It opens the door for anything and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the other focus is we don't we move away from the specific. So the emergent problem, the thing that people come with, even depression, but often a habit like smoking or eating or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I would never say, uh, and it's not as simplistic as put the problem in this hand and then the cure is in this hand.
Mm.
But what needs to be received in this hand? And it's almost as vague as that. We've talked about choice. So you come for smoking, say, or you've come for
Yeah.
pain. Say,
Right.
is that pain or what it is about that pain? Which hand is beginning to receive something about that pain? Usually it's the most unpleasant thing. So let's just take the usual, the basic sort of thing. So they will say that, and their hand will begin to move often away from them or down, or off it goes, and it's away and dancing, and it gets out of the way. You say, now you've got the thing that has been dominating you out of the way. I wonder what is not that pain, not that problem, not that smoking, not that. I wonder, and this is what we do. We don't say, and in that hand are all the cures. We say, I wonder if in that hand are the cures. Because here's the thing, therapists are taught in psychotherapy and hypnotherapy and psychology and doctors to know, to say, and now this is what's happening. We don't. Ernie and well, I've particularly expanded and got the words, and we talk about naive curiosity. I'm as smart as a whip back here. But that knowledge and all those ideas could be totally wrong or disrupting or interfering. So I said, I wonder what you have in this hand. And I tell you, Ernie would have his favorite saying was someone would say, "Oh, and in this hand," because like you give a simple example. We've got uh, 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 someone, and he said he came in because he was just uncomfortable with life. He was just uncomfortable, and he's doing. And I'm saying, I wonder what that discomfort. Just which hand's receiving that, and we let the body choose which hand and choose that, and so it'll start doing things, what we call idiomotor responses or idiodynamic responses, which are evidence that the internal system, the non-self-directed, so just the inner responses are going. Anyway, he said, "Oh my God, I'm seeing this is with my brother when I was 9 years old, and he was a talker. Sometimes it's all just goes in a talk." He said,
Yeah.
"I haven't thought about this in decades." And oh, this went on and that passed to the side. And I said, "And what's in this hand?" And he said, "Warm." And I went, "Okay, wonderful, warm." And here I am. No expansion, no suggestion because of it, just joining with him. But one thought I had is, I wonder if that warm wants to go somewhere.
Cool.
Just a curiosity.
Mhm.
And he went, uh, oh, oh my, oh. And he was actually consciously sort of, his eyes were closed. He was quite trance. And his hand, oh, oh. And his hand went to his throat. And as Ernie would say, what kind of genius would I have to be to think that this warm was to do with his throat to speaking? Because what would most of us think? Oh, bring the warm to the heart. We
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
oh, and take that warm to the heart, or take that warm to the discomfort, and as we do in parts therapy, let's bring all those
Yeah.
things together.
Hmm.
And those things are wonderful
Yeah.
in the time that they're wonderful, but unfortunately we create a therapy and we do it every time. And anyway, so beautiful. He went to his heart. He said, I think I'm going to go home and talk to my brother about this. And I went, what kind of genius would I have to be when you sat there saying, I am just uncomfortable in life, to realize that what he needed to do was go back and talk to his brother about something that happened when he was 9. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
and I know, again, I know there are other therapeutic processes where these come out.
Mm,
So I don't sort of sit there and say there's a best one or a right one, but I know that mirroring hands is the least interfering and
mm,
it's the least impositional. And what is very difficult for almost any hypnotherapist to understand, it is the least suggestive.
mm.
And in doing so, by being the least of all those things, in my experience, it's the most effective.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you're not seeding any suggestion. You're just letting them that whatever happens for
Yeah,
them. Yeah,
you're
that's
you're, you're interacting with theirs. Yes,
yeah,
you're seeding the possibility, not
yeah,
seeding the particulars,
mm, yeah,
and that takes a lot of um, bravery from the therapist point of view. And Melissa Tears, who's lovely, and she does the work. And she tends to be once a moment arrives, she'll intervene with
mm,
a fabulous idea, fabulous thought, a brilliant
yeah,
piece of work that does well. And I wonder, that was great. But I wonder if that was exactly the right. I wonder if the client wanted to go here. And this can be the confusion. Ernie said it in 1985. Oh God, he should have been. Oh God, I wish I was there. I've got a recording of it, and he's there. 1985. The biggest names in Ericksonian everything are all sitting in the audience, and
yeah,
he said, "Suggestion is the death of the therapist."
hmm
You could hear the. He said, "What happens is you give some suggestions, and they work quite well." And
yeah,
as I now talk about it, of course they will. Everything positive and useful will work quite well. And he
hmm
said, but then you start to think your suggestions are what is causing the benefit. And you stop creatively engaging with the client.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and I hear a number of people saying this in similar ways. Uh, but, uh, if they just went back to the source,
hmm
the Ericsson and
yeah,
the Rossi, and
mm,
I'm just so fortunate to, I mean, fancy Mark, you wake up, you're an actor for 40, 30 years, you go off and you do some university courses, and you wake up in your late 50s, early 60s, um, Milton Erickson, Ernest Rossi, you. You know, I still go, it's sort of imposter syndrome, but a bit of sort of
yeah.
like, gee, really? Syndrome. It's interesting.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, thanks a lot for explaining all that. That's brilliant. And I wonder, would you mind maybe doing a little quick demonstration of the process
Yep.
today? Would that be okay?
Yeah, no, that was good. We talked about that we actually talked in the prelim. He said,
Yeah.
but he hasn't, he's gone off doing whatever he wants, which is fantastic. Now, I'll
Yeah.
just give myself a little bit. There's a bit more body. Oh no, that's this stupid camera readjusts to make it small. Don't worry. All right, camera, you're annoying. Um, so I'll put my hands up in there. That usually they're sort of comfortably, and you guys might do that. Now, I won't take the mirroring hands towards the sort of a therapeutic where we're going to create problems. I'll just do an example of just asking the question, what we call the basic accessing question. Are you actually ready? Does your body open up and engage? Is it connecting between that cognitive and that that fabulous inner world? So the first thing, though, is we know in hypnosis, we need to shift the brain from focus, this self-organizing thing, and we need to turn off these decision-making interference, what you call the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and the ventrolateral prefrontal cortex and the orbitofrontal prefrontal cortex. Yay, everyone! The four people with neuroscience we out there saying, "Oh, good words." Anyway,
Yeah.
studied all that. That was all useful, but we want to turn off and we want to find this connection, this trance of shift where we certainly somebody else can suggest to you from the outside, but you can suggest to yourself from the inside. It's exactly the same process. Whatever we can do internally, someone can impose externally. So don't think you're clever because you can hypnotize somebody and suggest, because we can hypnotize ourselves and suggest just as easily. And we do that by focus. So let's, Richard, stop talking in enthusiastic left hemisphere stuff and just shift. What you've got your hands, I'll put them inside. And they're fascinating things, hands. They occupy a whole bunch of real estate in the brain, which makes them really sensitive and really noticeable. But you know, if you really looked at your hands, and if you really look at them, almost like you've never seen them before, the different wrinkles and creases, or how long your fingers are, or short, or how fleshy your palm is. Maybe it's not. You might already be experiencing little interesting things. I'm just noticing one of my little finger on one of my hands is a little distant from the other three. I don't know what that means or if it means anything, but that's interesting. And you might find yourself really want to look with your eyes carefully. You might want to shift and just start to feel your hands in your mind's eye. But I wonder, as you really start to feel as though these hands are almost floating in front of you all by themselves, what if there's a difference? Could be simple. Maybe, maybe one hand feels a bit warmer or cooler, or maybe a bit lighter or heavier. Or are you getting a sort of maybe a ambiguous thing? One is the older you, one's the younger you, one's the whatever it is. You might find it has a twitch or a yes, that's right. Just let that and I wonder, without working and wanting to work on anything really specific, because we're quite distant, we can't see each other. But that hand that you notice, what is it wanting to receive? Is it a from your body? Is it a positive feeling? Is it a difficult feeling? Is it something that you, is it something that might even surprise you? And we're not really going to spend a lot of time this experience, but just if you feel that hand receiving, I wonder, can you let it just, yes, that's right. It might just be moving all on its own. I don't know whether it's down or up, left or right, or just maybe even staying exactly where it is. And just allow yourself to review. Yes, you might take a breath. Let yourself do that. Just continuing with that receiving. You might have a conscious awareness of what you're receiving, or maybe it's just a feeling, or maybe it's a color or a shape. Everything is correct. And I don't know about you, my hand's moving quite quickly down towards my lap. Mark's is moving up. Just allow that part of the message of what's important just to be received. That's right. Just trust yourself, knowing that your system wants to find the best path. And even though we could spend more time, I know, let's shift our attention now to the other hand. And whatever is in your first hand, let's see if we can find everything else, all those things that are not in the first hand. If you found one of your problems going into your first hand, in your other hand, I wonder, the not problems, the solutions, the strengths, the maybe those things that were overwhelmed or covered up by what was in that first hand. Just allow that to move all by itself. Don't resist, don't encourage, just be fascinated. Or even allow yourself to go into deeper, deeper trance. And it just occur all by itself. Moving to where it needs to move. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just continuing for as long as is important for you to achieve something important. Maybe an entire answer, maybe just an idea, maybe just a feeling, maybe just opening a door. That's right. Whatever is happening is helpful and correct. Yeah. Now, I know we could continue for some time, and that would be very helpful. But actually, your system will continue, maybe even every hour and a half or so. So when that inner part of your experience knows that it can continue this at appropriate times during the day, in your dreams, in your early morning thoughts, and when your conscious mind just seems to know that it will cooperate and allow yourself to drift at appropriate times in this healing process, will you find you might be able to bring your attention back to the room, to the place you are? Is it sitting up? Is it opening your eyes? Is it stretching? Is it taking a deep breath? I don't know. Whatever is true and correct for you.
Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for that, Richard.
Yeah. And We don't want to, as Ernie and I would say when we're working on things and developing things, Ernie would say, well, now let's ruin it by talking about it. So we won't do that too much.
Yeah, yeah. But it
But
just shows you kind of you can do this totally content free as well. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have
yeah,
the person.
and I want to catch on that because this is what we say. This is a symptom of the amount of effort and activity that we are teaching the practitioner to do because we call it content free. The content has never been in the therapist. The therapy that they know, the scripts they've learned, the experiences, that's not the content of therapy. That's the usefulness and that's the contribution that the therapist brings. The content is in the client.
Yeah, yeah.
It's content full all the time,
Hmm.
but it's therapist content limited. It's the therapist adding content in direct relation to the client's content. And of course, this experience where all those movements, and I saw some of the ones you were doing and where you were going, that's the content. I go, Mark's working. Shut
Yeah,
up. Keep out of the way. I probably, in a general experience, they're probably double the amount of words than I would do ordinarily. But of course, this is just a demonstration.
yeah,
There would have been much longer silences, and not silences as in I couldn't think of what to say. But let me put it about there'd be much longer periods of activity where I didn't say anything.
yeah, yeah,
While your hand's moving and your hand was moving up, which was quite, it is what it is, nothing, no need for me to say anything. You're working, your system is active. What is needed to be done is being done. Now, maybe if it stopped for a period of time or came to a point of rest, that would be something, okay. And I wonder now, always wondering, always allowing the client to realize that they are the one that knows what to do next, even if they don't know what to do with it next. Uh, so, and then that wonderful aspect at the end is this is not about what happens in the period of time you've got Richard facilitating. We have now set up a mental health immune system dynamic, systemic process, which will now continue in regular periods. And this is, we talked about the ultradian rhythm, it's all in the book, a bit complex now. But in this energy cycle, we have about an hour and a half to 2 hour cycle of energy. And at the low part of the energy cycle, that's actually a restorative period. Now we think we're tired, we have to, sit down, we have to have a beer. But it's actually this wonderful time where the genes change, the immune system shifts to anti-inflammatory processes. We have restorative things going on in the brain. The biology that Ernie said, "Go learn this, my boy," is really interesting. Not vital to know, but really interesting to know. But the other thing is, I wonder with you, I'll just ask you, but it's a question to everybody listening. When you did the experience, did your eyes close?
yeah. They did. Yeah, yeah. They closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And can everybody listening remember when I suggested to you to close your eyes?
You didn't. You never
Never.
suggested. No, never
No,
suggested. No.
because maybe some people are best having their eyes open while they are,
Yeah,
and they can go into trance really well, or they, for some reason, need to have a little bit of visual perception for senses of safety. So
yeah,
I didn't ask you to relax. I didn't ask you to breathe. But if you did breathe, I went, yeah, nice deep breath. So I joined you
hmm yeah,
in that experience.
yeah,
Uh, and so it is a very, very different experience from the therapist's perspective in the basis, in the nature of the sorts of therapies that have become very popular. And as I say, everything does good stuff. I'm a great advocate of that. I'm very annoyed with people who say, "Oh, you shouldn't do this because that doesn't do anything. This is much better." You know,
yeah, yeah,
pull
yeah,
your head
yeah,
in, pull your
yeah,
head in.
yeah. I'm sure a lot of the listeners, the people watching on YouTube as well, I feel really, really relaxed after that as well. So it's great for relaxation.
Yeah. It's in
Yeah,
itself, all hypnosis is a natural relaxation process.
yeah,
And we feel really relaxed. What does that mean? We are largely quite tense.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you go to a
yeah.
Buddhist monk who's just been meditating for 2 hours, he's not going to relax much more. He's
No,
probably pretty right, you know.
yeah,
But all these things that we do, positive thinking, feel good enough, they're all telling us not the problem we need to fix and the behavior we need to fix. We're actually talking about the problems that exist in the world around us that activate our body in ways that are unhelpful to both mental and physical health. So a lot of the things have very, very quick responses, very, very quick. Just one session, 10 minutes, and people go, "Oh, I'm so much better. Magical cure." No, not magical cure, just pushing back or taking back ownership of the self and stop being pushed and pulled around by the outside world, which is another one of my books called The Winner Loser World, where we can uh, radically improve our lives in a minute. Equally, we might need a minute and then another minute and then another hour and then maybe 10 of those. Uh, but all my sessions, every session, my sessions don't conclude until there is a point of discovery or point of contentment. So that means they tend to go 70, 80 minutes, which means I don't make a lot of money. But uh, I'm very happy doing better work.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much. And do you have your books to kind of show people today, Richard, as well, just so you can share the links so I can put them on the show notes as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, I mean, we've got actually, I've got some books holding things up. Uh,
Okay.
so I'll hold on to the. Uh, so it's
I've
not
done a
like
bit
I'm
of that
sitting
as
here.
well.
Hold on, I'll do that, and I'll. There you go. I'm down because see, I'm technically advanced. I
Yeah,
don't do. So we've got, of course, uh, this fella.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the Merry Hands, me and Ernie.
Snap. Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so this is published by Crown House, so that's available through the publishing channel, so Amazon's and all
yeah,
that. So it's not it's not my it's no longer my publication, it's my book. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
for those that when I start talking about neuroscience and bits and pieces and things, this is actually another really important. If you want to go, but this is the science of psychotherapy, the science of it's not the science of hypnosis per se, but the science of the psychology. So this talks about genetics and neuroscience and uh, uh, psychodynamics and all that sort of stuff. Really interesting. Uh, this is the one that brought Ernie and me together. And that's how the real world's driving us crazy. And I gave it to him in 2005, and he wrote back and said, "This is a really good book for people about this, what happens to our brain and our body and our behavior when we believe the outside world that we don't feel good enough." And now this one and another one, which called Choose Hope, which is there are a series of parables. I traveled around the world, just wrote stories about things I saw, and they're all. I wrote it because we had a suicide in the family, and I said the world can't be hopeless. In fact, the world needs to be inspirational to us. And so here's lots of stories about people I met, things I saw, and things I did. Now, Choose Hope and How the Real World Drives Us Crazy on a thing called books.by. So
Okay.
books.by / Richard hyphen Hill. And uh, that's they are well self-published, and so you can get them just they'll come to you. I haven't done the audio books on those because everything takes time,
Yeah,
and
I know. Yeah, I
so
know.
there. But I will
Yeah.
be doing I do an online course if we're
Okay,
doing just
good.
a quick little bit of promo.
Yeah,
I don't
please.
mind
Yeah,
not doing it, but
yeah.
but next February I'll be advertising that shortly.
Okay.
So we do 6 weeks We meet once a week for an hour and a half, and we
Right.
piece together all the bits and pieces. And so that's going to be starting in February. I'm going to put out an ad for that once I get this Italian conference
Yeah.
out of my hair, and so that'll start February, through early March, and that's a lot of fun. So there you can go. I mean, I'm easy. richardhill.com.au is me, and also an equally difficult email, richard@richardhill.com.au. Even I can remember my own email.
Well, yeah, yeah, that's good because you want to post all them links as well, or share them links so I can be able to put them on the show notes for you, Richard.
Oh
Just
yeah,
maybe email me over and I can put them
yeah. Okay,
all.
I'll
Yeah,
send you an email with
yeah,
those things. That's lovely.
yeah,
I,
brilliant.
I
Yeah,
actually I see this is the terrible marketing thing. I sit there and go,
yeah,
oh yeah, books, marketing.
yeah. I didn't
So
realize I
thank you
was.
for.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was sitting behind the window, and that's where the shine is behind me there. Yeah,
Actually, it'll be really great, Mark. Actually, during it, as you got really into it,
yeah,
you got this. You had this, which was just a lighting thing, and I get
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But it's not like some magical mystery thing, but it occurred in a moment that allowed us to have another level of experience, to creatively produce another sense of things. So I don't get too weird and wacko. And I used to do clairvoyance. I used to tell people things that were going, from their past and future. And that's one of the reasons I went and did all the study, because I thought it's not magical. It's not some incredible connection with plugged into some weird thing in the sky. It is natural human behavior, and we just don't do it. So my thing now is, clairvoyance. It's not that people are clairvoyant and intuitive and psychic, and that's weird. It's why doesn't everybody do it? We should all have some degree of that sensitivity.
Hmm.
And so that's the central core of all the work we're doing, and which I'm going to stick in my PhD in a fabulous
Yeah,
academic thing, is sensitive observation of not only ourselves, but of the others and the ecology we live in. Uh, and people have been talking about that. I saw something came on what's the name, Hayes, and going way back. We've been talking about all this stuff for decades. Why on earth have we not worked it out? That is the question. Uh, I want people to ask themselves, why do I keep letting myself be taken by the world rather than the world be a place where I create myself? So you can use this wonderfully on yourself
yeah. I was going
as
to
a
ask you that. You can
self-hypnosis.
use. You can. Yeah,
Yeah, just
yeah,
just
yeah.
pop yourself. Obviously, it's going to be different than
Mm,
where you're doing it interpersonally, but you do, and just let your problem or let the thing you want to move away from yourself into this end, and so you can see those things that you need here. I use it. I use it for pain. I use it for anxiety, which I don't get so much anymore. Although I was pretty anxious here, doing things in two languages. Um, I use it for sleep. Everything that's stopping me sleeping, just go in this end. My hands are by my, you don't have to have them up here. Everything there, everything that allows me to sleep, come into this hand and be what's important. And, it'll go back on my body and I'll go to sleep. It's fantastic. Oh, there's a mosquito, an Italian mosquito. So I want to eat you, but I'm too busy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I can't thank you enough for this, Richard. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing all the information. It's just amazing. I love the book, and I recommend everybody to go and get a copy. And I'll be very interested in looking at that course next year as well in February.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's brilliant. Thanks so much. So listen, I wish you all the success going forward, whatever you do, and I really appreciate it coming on. Thanks so much.
It's my great pleasure, Mark, and thank you so much for making this possible. I do
Yeah,
it quite a lot myself, and I know how difficult and time
yeah,
consuming it is,
yeah,
but you love it. And I
yeah.
love people who love things.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks so much. And thanks everyone for watching and listening on Spotify today to Mark's Motivational Podcast, Motivational Thursday with Richard Hill. I'm going to share all Richard's information on the show notes to check out. So until next time, thanks for listening. Thanks, Richard.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, Mark here. Thank you for watching another episode of my Authors Tuesday podcast. I recently published a book of children's stories called The Adventures of Larry Lamppost and Friends. The book began life as bedtime stories I wrote for my own children. If you'd like to purchase my book, follow the link in the description box below. By buying my book, you are also supporting my podcast series for authors, which is giving a voice to writers in Ireland and across the world.